Ijin's class appears fearful as they witness the events unfolding before them. Before them, Kim and Ijin stand facing each other, with the other punks lying on the ground behind Ijin. Kim remarks that Ijin seems to possess a considerable repertoire of tricks. Ijin maintains an emotionless gaze upon the orange-haired bully, while Kim, in the meantime, takes a determined step forward, readying himself for a potent kick aimed at Ijin. Kim delivers a forceful side kick to Ijin's neck, making direct contact. The orange-haired punk appears elated, convinced that this powerful strike to the head will be too much for Ijin to endure. To everyone's astonishment, Ijin swiftly blocks the kick using his left arm, fixing a lethal glare upon his adversary. A mixture of fear and surprise crosses Kim's face as he realizes that Ijin blocked his initial kick. Determined, he believes that targeting the other side might work, and he launches another powerful kick. However, Ijin effortlessly blocks the second kick as well, leaving Kim bewildered. With a swift motion, Ijin seizes Kim's leg and pulls him closer. Ijin delivers a powerful punch, striking Kim squarely in the face. A spray of blood erupts, leaving uncertainty about whether it originated from Ijin's fist or Kim's face. The orange-haired bully is forcefully propelled backward by the sheer impact of Ijin's punch, blood splattering in all directions. As Kim manages to sit up, it becomes apparent that the blood seen earlier is coming from Kim's nose. He starts to utter profanities, his gaze shifting to something truly dreadful. A profound fear overtakes him, and he appears genuinely terrified for his life. Before Kim, Ijin stands resolute. His gaze communicates to his opponent that he has no qualms about ending him right then and there. The orange-haired punk appears fearful, apprehensive about what Ijin might do next. Ijin delivers a single, powerful kick directly to Kim's head, causing even more blood to gush from his battered form. The camera perspective shifts to an overhead view, revealing Ijin standing amidst a circle of the punks, all of them lying on the ground in a state of collapse. Every individual in the classroom wears an expression of profound surprise at the unfolding events. The two bullies from Ijin's class find it difficult to fathom that Ijin could defeat Kim Ki-soo. Shock courses through them. Ijin's sister, Dayun, holds her hand over her mouth, unable to believe what she's witnessing. Finally, Kim's sister stands there in disbelief, struggling to come to terms with what just transpired. Ijin begins to take deliberate steps forward, heading in the direction of the two bullies who had harmed Dayun. The girls, seeing Ijin's approach, are filled with fear, apprehensive about what he might do to them. Ijin fixes the same intense gaze upon the girls that he directed at the bullies earlier. He then clenches his fist, preparing for another potent punch. The blonde-haired bully becomes visibly terrified, beads of sweat forming on her forehead. However, before any further action could take place, Dayun intervenes, grabbing Ijin's arm and pleading with him to stop. Ijin gazes at Dayun with a puzzled expression and inquires whether he's correct in his assumption that these girls were her bullies. A wave of surprise washes over Dayun as she realizes that he's aware of this, and a sense of embarrassment tinges her expression. As Dayun contemplates the situation, the realization dawns on her that Ijin had fought on her behalf. With a forced smile, Dayun reassures Ijin that everything is fine now, urging him to stop. Ijin senses her deception but chooses not to address it. Ijin then informs Dayun that he will accompany her to her classroom. As Ijin and his little sister make their way to her classroom, we shift our focus back to Ijin's class. The room is filled with confusion, and students engage in discussions about the unprecedented events. Many inquire with their peers if it's true that Kim Ki-soo and his gang were defeated by a single individual. The two bullies from Ijin's class acknowledge Ijin's strength and express relief that they didn't confront him. Park, on the other hand, remains silent, his gaze fixed on the spot where Ijin once stood. Lastly, we see Kim's sister, Ijin, trembling in fear, her apprehension palpable. In her distress, Ijin begins to scream, berating the fallen bullies in front of her as morons. Back to Ijin and Dayun as they continue down the hallway. Breaking the silence, Dayun remarks that her brother must be exceptionally skilled at fighting, expressing her surprise. While they walk, Dayun gazes downward with a somber expression and apologizes to Ijin. He responds with a questioning, "What for?" Dayun explains that Ijin had to fight on her behalf both yesterday and today, and Ijin, with a hint of amusement, responds that he would always be willing to fight for her because she's his little sister. Ijin goes on to explain that in the place he used to live, most people were primarily concerned with themselves and often disregarded what happened to others, unless it directly affected them. However, he continues, there were rare occasions when even those self-centered individuals acted differently, and that was when their family became involved. The scene abruptly shifts, and we find ourselves transported to a war-torn location. Soldiers fire their weapons in all directions as explosions erupt in the background. Amid the chaos, the soldiers are shouting something, but their words remain unintelligible. Ijin's expression changes, and it appears as though he has just spotted someone amidst the chaos. Ijin stands over someone, his weapon pointed directly at them, poised for action. As we get a closer look at the person Ijin is pointing his weapon at, we realize it's a father standing in front of his frightened little girl. In this tense moment, Ijin begins to ponder the true essence of a family. Dayun, perplexed by what she just heard, reminds Ijin that he had mentioned he could barely remember their family. Ijin gazes affectionately at his little sister and utters that although he may not remember much, he is certain that they are indeed a family. As Ijin finishes his sentence, Dayun becomes aware of the gazes directed at them by those around. She then suggests to Ijin that she's fine and he can return to his own class. Confused, Ijin mentions that he promised to walk her to her classroom. Dayun then clarifies that they are already in her classroom. Dayun waves goodbye to Ijin and proceeds into her classroom. Content that he and his little sister have grown a bit closer, Ijin begins to make his way back to his own classroom. As Ijin enters his classroom, whispers spread among the students that he has returned. The two bullies who previously had intentions of bullying him now wear friendly expressions and commend the former mercenary, expressing amazement and curiosity about what he learned overseas. Ijin takes his seat, and Park, acknowledging the situation, remarks that he, too, found Ijin's actions quite impressive. The scene transitions to Kim slamming his fist against a table, contemplating the recent defeat. He ponders that there is something distinctly different about Ijin, both in terms of his aura and his fighting style. Kim's thoughts are interrupted by his sister, who questions how long they intend to remain in this state and suggests they were just taken by surprise. She still struggles to believe just how formidable Ijin truly is and exclaims that it's impossible for a single person to overpower all of them. Growing increasingly annoyed, Kim shouts at his little sister, telling her to be quiet and daring her to take action if she wants to continue speaking. In her final act of frustration, Kim's sister turns and walks out of the room, slamming the door shut behind her. As she walks away, tears stream down Kim's sister's face, and she reflects on the fact that they were the ones who were completely defeated by a single individual. Upon entering Dayun's classroom, Ijin expresses her jealousy, suggesting that Dayun's school life is bound to be fantastic now. She remarks that whenever something goes wrong, Dayun can simply seek refuge with her older brother. As Dayun continues to ignore her, the blonde bully thinks to herself that Dayun shouldn't believe she can just ignore her. As Ijin becomes increasingly annoyed that she has to silently observe Dayun, a recollection of the intense look Ijin gave her sends shivers down her spine. Despite her wounded pride, Ijin summons the courage to overcome her fear and decides that there's no way she's going to tolerate that situation.